Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and former therapist with a background in counseling psychology. This podcast is for strong, high-achieving women who want more in their lives and relationships, who are ready to rise to the next level of growth, healing, and evolution. Nothing changes until you change. And when you change, everything else changes around you as a result. If you're done with feeling powerless within the chaotic and toxic dynamics in your relationship and don't even know where to begin with making changes, I've got you covered. I know you've tried everything, including counseling, watching hours of videos, and reading stacks of books on narcissism, and find that all it does is leave you feeling even more stuck and in the same place. None of these things work when you're living with a narcissistic spouse because the root causes of the symptoms are not being addressed. As with physical health, there is an emotional, physical, spiritual, and psychological component to healing and overcoming the problematic symptoms and pain you're facing every day in your life and relationship. If you're ready for a direct, no fluff, no nonsense approach to take you into your personal power and take back your life, you are in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. Something I see a lot in my work with women in my program and those that I coach is a lot of things really start to shift and become clear as you start doing your own inner work, setting boundaries, getting really intentional about who you surround yourself with, who you talk to, who you confide in, and who you go to for support. A couple of different aspects that I want to talk about today is number one is the challenges and the not so great side of using friends and family for your support system when you're dealing with narcissistic abuse, as well as what can happen with those particular friends and family when you are exiting or when you've left the relationship. So first, let's talk about why it's problematic and not a good idea to use your friends and family as your sole support system. So first of all, they have a limited view of what is really going on in your relationship. They may see this person as normal and fine because perhaps he's really good at putting on the charm when they're around because it's occasional, or they don't see what goes on day to day, or he's not behaving in the ways that he does when it's just you and him. So they have a limited view, and these men are really good at putting on a show to look like the stand-up father, stand-up husband, stand-up whatever. I know a woman that shared how her spouse was little to no help in the household, but when family would come, he would be going back and forth with loads of laundry and working on this, that, or the other thing, and the family would be like, wow, he sure works hard. Wow, do you ever give him a break? And meanwhile, she's like, this is not typical. This is really not. Do you see what I do every day, right? So friends and family have a limited view, and it's very common for them to think that you have got a great guy because they're not showing those same patterns of behavior in front of these people as far as a continuous basis. They also can't offer you real solutions. All they can do is listen and tell you maybe you should leave, or maybe you should go to counseling, or maybe you should try harder, or maybe this is just men, or maybe this is just relationships. You're going to get that same advice over and over, especially from those who have not been there before. So they don't really have a way to offer you objective solutions, and they don't understand the day-to-day experience that you are living in. The other thing is that you will burn out these friendships. I've heard this time and time again from women as part of the isolation factor in these relationships is they go too much to certain friends and burn out their friends, and then their friends start avoiding them, declining invitations, not offering to have them join them for different events, because it's just become such a drain and heaviness in the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use your friends as a support system, but there is a way to do it in such a way that you're not putting all that pressure and weight on those key people. And it's not about keeping everything to yourself, but it's about not just having your friends and family as your support system. The other thing, when you're just going to friends and venting about the latest thing he's done or not done, it recreates the trauma in your body. You're reliving it every time you tell the story. And this is where talk therapy has its limitations. Yes, it's important to be able to share and get that validation, but you might not even be getting that from friends and family that are minimizing it, or even unintentionally gaslighting you to think it's really not that bad. So this all puts a drain on you and them because you're going to just keep venting. And you probably noticed you don't really feel any better after a vent session. In fact, you probably feel worse. You feel the energy drain on you. And they're feeling it too because they feel helpless and they don't know what to do. So those are reasons why using your friends and family as your key support system is not a good idea. The other aspect that is common that I see a lot is when women announce that
when you save on auto insurance for driving safe with USAA Safe Pilot, you'll feel like a big deal, even in a traffic jam. Save up to 30% with USAA Safe Pilot. Restrictions apply.
they're leaving, or they start making moves to leave, or they tell their friends and family they're getting a divorce, is they start to see those friends and family who truly are in their corner and those who are not. I have seen, sadly, women's family turn against them because they thought she was being selfish or unreasonable and giving up on her marriage, or having no friends around her because they have all been isolated or they have faded off in the background because, number one, you are not feeling up to continue on with friendships, or the friendships just became too much of a drain because of what you've been going through. And so when you're on the other side, you find you don't really have a support system. And I've seen this happen so many times. It's really unfortunate, and it's trauma on top of trauma to not have your key people, like your parents or your siblings or your childhood best friend you've had forever, that seem to be not there for you all of a sudden, or they're ignoring you, or they're not supportive, or they're trying to talk you into changing your mind, or they are saying things like, what about the kids, and how are you going to do it on your own, and you don't just give up, like you're destroying the family, how is this going to impact your kids later on? And they can even have the extreme of parents completely not supporting their decision and siding with the narcissistic spouse. And I've seen that happen before, where the parents kind of join forces with the narcissistic spouse to talk about how she's lost her mind, or what's wrong with her, like she's changed, what's going on with why is she doing this? I thought everything was fine. Like, you know, that is really hard to go through when you feel like you literally don't have anyone in your corner. I hope that's not you, and I hope you do have some true friendships and true family that do support you. But I'm just saying, too many times I've seen the opposite happen. So 2 pieces to take away from here. Have a look at your overall support system. And are you just solely relying on your friends and family as your venting outlet? Or do you go to therapy just to vent? It's kind of the same thing. So if you're going to a therapist, they are not there to tell you what to do. They're not there to make the decision for you. So you really are just going there to vent. And there is a place for that. And I do think that even when we go to therapy, it's a good idea to have a strategy and a plan for each time we go in and talk to our therapist, and making sure that they are actually able to guide us through whatever particular challenges we're facing. But unless they understand narcissistic abuse and the challenges within that to actually getting out, you're just going there to talk. You're just going there to vent and pay money to vent. You're not actually going to get a solution or a step-by-step strategy and action plan and tools and things you can practice and learn outside of that therapy session. In fact, most times with therapy, you just go in, you talk, and the time's up, and you walk out, and maybe you even feel worse, right? Maybe you feel a little bit better for a minute, but you just find like it's not actually getting you anywhere. So these are the things that women are trying over and over again that just are not working. And so this is when you know it's time you need a different approach. You need different tools. And there is an other element to this where we can over rely on our friends and family and even our therapists to constantly be there as the place that we vent, but we don't actually take any action. We think we're doing something by poring over this over coffee and venting over the phone and going into therapy each week or multiple times a week. But is anything actually changing? So that's what I want you to ask yourself. What has changed with the strategies and practices that I'm doing? What is keeping me in the same place and keeping me stuck? And chances are pretty good that these pieces in here about your support system are a huge factor in that. And you do need to get to a place where you are able to be self-sufficient, where you are able to process difficult emotions on your own without needing to call your friend or your mother or someone else to just vent to. You need to be able to have the tools to process and self-soothe and move through the emotions on your own, right? We can't always be overly dependent on those around us when we're having strong emotions. And that's one of the things I teach in my program is, how do you self-regulate? How do you self-soothe? How do you stop needing that compulsive support system to be able to vent and just keep talking about the problem. That becomes an addiction, a dependence in itself. Is I get to vent. This is serving me because I get to vent and get the sympathy from people. And therefore, then I don't have to actually take ownership for my life and do something about this thing. I can just complain about what he's doing and how awful it is and not actually do anything about it. And the other aspect to this is the more you just keep talking about the problem and regurgitating the problem and marinating in the problem, you get sick, you get depressed, you get burnt out, you get other health issues coming up. And again, you isolate friends and even family that begin to not want to be around you because you're an energy drain. And it's not that it's your fault. You're going through a difficult time, but you have to ask yourself, where am I the energy vampire in this? Like, I need to take ownership of that and get the support that I need and learn how to support myself. Because in the end, all we have is ourselves. In the end, the longest relationship we are ever going to have is that with ourselves. People leave, friendships end, family becomes estranged, or you get distanced. All you ever have is yourself. And therapy can only take you so far. And this is why I want women to be fully empowered with the tools and ways that they know how to take care of themselves moment to moment, how to emotionally regulate their strong emotions, and learning how to intentionally get the support they need at the time they need it in the proper way. So it's not working to vent. It's not working to keep going to friends and family and even therapists to just regurgitate and relive the problem. That's not going to lead you to the solution. So if you're ready to actually break the toxic bond and the toxic dynamics in your relationship, head to the link in my show notes for my free masterclass, Breaking the Toxic Bond of Narcissistic Power and Control. This is a 60-minute class where I go through the top mistakes that women make that keep them trapped in the toxic cycle of conflict and chaos. Thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this episode, please take a moment to share it and leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're ready to take your next step, head to the link in the show notes to sign up for my latest free class. Also, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Awakening Women Official and join the conversation. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again in the next episode. Take care of yourself in the meantime, and I'll see you online.
Hey Cricket customers, Max with ads is included with your Cricket $60 unlimited plan at no additional cost. Nice! Max is the streaming platform where you can watch Scoob, Meg 2 The Trench, The Nightmare on Elm Street collection, and so much more. Remember me. Just log in with your Cricket username and password to experience Max on all your favorite devices.
We've never seen this before.
Max, the one to watch for a good scream with Cricket. Yeah! Phone plan streams in standard definition. Programming subject to change. Fees, terms, and restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.